doing? Good. How's it been?
Good. Yeah. Really good. I think we're getting used to, or she's getting used to listening to us. And, we went out every morning or twice a day if we could on like whatever walk we had.
Yeah.
And she's gotten very good at knowing her. We say okay, and she like runs around, does whatever.
Good.
So she's been enjoying that. Most of the time, just like stalking the birds here in the morning.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, even like this morning, yesterday, we were in the suburbs, and I mean, she was on like, the leash. We were walking on our walk through the neighborhood, and I just kind of like let her roam.
Sure.
And it's been good.
Excellent. So get like she's slowly just getting a bit more freedom and a little bit more looseness.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For sure.
And she's been good. Like, I think she listens more. We don't do a lot off leash, obviously.
Right.
And we do it in pretty small doses, or like, she's on a leash, but it's a long line or something. And so it's not like a real. She knows she can. She's doing better in those situations too, where I think she's still very much like looking to us and listening to us in those scenarios, which has been encouraging.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. So what happens is like dogs start to naturally check in, especially when they hit that perimeter of like 30 feet or whatever, because they're thinking, "Are you going to call me?" And it's like,
Stop, turn around, come back, and then keep going.
Yeah. Is that what she does? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you ignore her when she returns?
No. I don't know. I think I'm normally just like, hey, and then like, okay, and I kind of like tell her again, like, that she can go.
Go.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we ignore her. Maybe we should. It's more of like
I reinforce
reminder of like we're in break time. Like we're like, I'm not asking you
to come back.
Do this.
Yeah, sure.
Sort of thing.
So you do one of two things.
Okay.
One, you can continue as you have been and reinforce it. Okay. I tend to ignore it. Okay. Or suggest you're not going to lose the where's mom and dad aspect of it, but she won't constantly be going back and forth.
Okay.
Right? So like my guys, I tell them break, and you're like, do they even care about you, Jesse? Because they just go. Right? But it's still the moment I call them back, they're right back to me, and I have the control again. So I have I have the complete picture of, yeah, you're free. Be a dog. Chase what you want to chase. But come when I call you. Right? And in here, she's got that little bit of paranoia, if you will.
Yeah.
And when you reinforce, she's thinking this is what I'm supposed to do. Now, if you like it and you want to keep it, your dog.
Yeah.
Absolutely, go for it, right? But if it's like, no, we'd actually like her to just be able to be off and not be so paranoid, then I dissuade the reinforcing. Because when you reinforce, you're saying, yes, keep doing that.
Yeah, you're doing a good.
Yeah, and when you ignore her, she'll just be like, I checked in and you didn't care about it. And then she'll just go off on her own. Okay? So it's whatever. It's personal preference. So we've done 2 classes on recall?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, cool. So from previous training, does she know the sit down or the place command at all?
Not place.
Sit down.
Sit down?
Yeah.
Okay. So we brought a placemat with us. So we're not going to worry about the long leash for today. What we're going to do is we're going to lay a remote over the other commands. So by class 7, we learn everything first with remote, and then by class 7 we know all the skill sets. Now it's time to start building them to offensive reliability. Does that make sense? So typically the first 6 is sit down, place, come, heel, stay on a short leash, and then the second 6 are transitioning to long leash into off leash. Okay, so that we're gonna fall right in line with that.
Okay.
Unless we schedule like the behavioral thing with socializing, right? So then whenever you're ready for that, just if you want to shoot me an email and say heads up, this weekend's gonna be a socialization thing.
Yep.
So I can say, okay, cool, and I know not to like worry about obedience stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do that whenever you're ready. And it was going to be kids socializing, was that correct?
Yep.
Kids, dogs.
Kids, dogs, okay.
Well, dog, she's fine.
Dog, she's generally
Yeah,
good.
you're right.
Like it's more like any
It's more like random owners.
And I actually think I've seen them better with kids than with adults, but I still think kids are within the scope of what we'd like to. Because obviously I'm more concerned if something goes wrong with kids than a lot worse than if something goes wrong with some, an adult or something like, I can deal with that. Like the kid piece is obviously higher risk in
Absolutely.
terms of like, so I think we still want to continue to work with that.
Okay. Yeah, if you can find a lamb, sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
I have another client, same thing. They want to social, but they have they don't know anybody with kids.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if you want to start planning for that, you're already ready for that. It's just a matter of coordinating and finding a child and all that stuff. It's a very easy exercise. It's very strict, very controlled. We take a lot of precautions so that the parent feels fine, feels good, you guys feel good, and then this way, if you're out on the walk and someone's like, "Oh, can my kid pet your dog?" I'm always real transparent and say, like, "We'd love to. Do you mind? Because we're trying to socialize. We have a very strict way that we do it."
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how often people, once they see everything in place or understand what the exercise is, are willing to actually do that.
Okay.
Okay. And I think I've mentioned it before, but just stressing the muzzle, right?
Yep.
So like, let's say we cover the kid exercise, then when you go for a walk, I might just carry the muzzle with me, because you don't know if that opportunity might arise.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
For sure.
And you're like, yeah, absolutely. We have this. Do you mind? We've done this with the trainer before. It was very simple. It's very easy, and you take a lot of precautions, and then you have more opportunities. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Questions? So place command. Do you know anything about it?
It's like the idea, well, nope, just tell me. I'm not going to play guess. It's not worth it.
Place command is super simple. Okay, it's probably like a favorite amongst clients because you get stationary control, but it's also convenient in the sense that if you sit her or down her, it's a very specific looking command. It's one or the other, right? So if she lays down, she can't stand up or sit up. If she's sitting, she can't lay down or stand up, right? You're very strict. With place, it's go here, and I don't care what you do. Lay down, stand, sit, play with a toy. Just do not step off of the boundary of the area. Okay. So the way I use commands and I think about obedience and stuff, and I just like etiquette of off leash, is if I know I'm gonna go for brunch and I'm gonna be with my friends, we're gonna have a conversation, I'm gonna be distracted, but I want to bring my dog. Right? I don't want to do down or sit because it's so strict. I have to be very mindful, right?
Yep.
So instead I go, I'm going to do this here because I don't care what the dog does. Just don't step off of the area. So it gives the dog a bigger window to do things and gives me more leniency in terms of not having to consider what my dog is doing because it's just beyond this area and don't step off there.
Okay, so then before we even go into that, my question is, she knows sit down,
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, too.
but maybe part of this exercise is when we do sitting down, reinforcing that more stricter, because usually we just make her go down and gave her a treat, and then we're like, okay, do whatever. She never has to be down for a long period of time.
Correct. So down and sit sit down, place, come, heel, thing are all functional commands.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I put remote behind all of them. Stuff like paw and roll over, that's about right. But those 6 commands are the family pet obedience. That when I say down, it's down, don't move for the next 3 hours, 30 minutes, 5 hours. It's whatever the owner is needing. Sit. Technically, you could build to that, but in my opinion, I know for dogs sitting for a long period of time is uncomfortable, as they tend to lay down to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, if they did on their own terms, that we would correct that would be disobedience. But you'll always hear me tell a client, if you're going to be talking to someone for a period of time, down your dog. Okay? Because at some point they'll either down themselves and then the owner forgets about it. So then that's again a decision the dog made that's out of obedience, not necessarily a bad thing, but still disobedience. So instead, I jump the gun and go down. And I have that 30-minute conversation.
So she should be down.
Technically, but we haven't learned down yet, so I just ignore it, right?
Okay.
Next class will most likely be the sit and down exercise, where we'll layer a remote over that.
Yeah.
But for now, this is super easy, and you can start duration work right after that, okay? So duration kind of overlaps, so if you do duration one down and duration one place, they kind of feed into each other, okay? Because
She gets used to just not moving.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Now, one thing about the place command that we want to be mindful of is this is its own command.
Yep.
So if you say Kirby place and she goes here, and then you say Kirby down, it's not a place anymore.
Yeah.
Down, right?
Okay.
So then you'd have to reinforce down command. And I always dissuade people from doing that because they will forget. they'll think the dog's on a place, and the dog gets up, and they don't reinforce the fact that it was actually a down, and then we create confusion. Okay, so I always just do place, send the dog, and just don't step off the area. Okay, questions so far? What's our working number right now?
We're at 37.
37. So go ahead and bring Kirby over. Stop just before the placemat and lightly pull up. We'll give a little tap here for the dog sit. There we go. So this is one of the like only commands that actually start with the word right away. So you're going to cue the word place, and then with your leash, you're going to put leash pressure towards the placemat as you remote. Okay. Ideally, we want Kirby to hop from your side over. Yeah, you guys are right side. Over to the placemat. As soon as all four paws are on the area, we stop pressure. Okay. If she oversteps, you would start tapping again, give counter pressure to bring her back, and then we stop. And then she tries to go again, tap, 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 bring her back, and then we stop. So we're trying to teach her that the area of the placemat is the safe zone.
Yep.
And then after that, we'll have stutter for a second, break, go around, come back, represent, wait a moment, place, remote, send her back. Okay, questions?
No.
If you see her, because some dogs in the beginning are kind of standoffish, I'll brace the mat with my foot so I can put more physical pressure, because sometimes they start to push on the placemat and it'll move the bed away, and then you're constantly moving. Okay? Questions? Okay, when you're ready,
Kirby. Place.
tap, 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 tap. Good, right there. And relax. Good girl.
Sit again before.
Yeah.
Good girl. Kirby. Place.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. We're gonna do more just like that. Good girl. Okay. Check your e-collar, the vibrate. Yep. Yeah, okay. Tap, tap, tap. So bring it back, tap, 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 tap. Good, it's like tap, 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 tap. We've come to 35, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to 38. There we go. So right there when you hit that vibrate function, just kind of like what's this, and she stepped off. Yeah. But technically she was on a command, so we don't repeat. We just continue with that pressure until she self-corrects, or we lead her back to the correct. Okay. Let's try two more. Okay. Very up there it is. Girl. Kirby. Yeah, girl. Good. One more. Okay. Very good. So now we're going to up bend. You do same thing, but let's say you're 2 feet from the placemat.
Yep.
You're going to say place, and you're going to anchor yourself. Okay? And you're just going to use leash pressure and tapping to get her to pop on without you moving. Correct. Yeah. So we did that first part to help ease her into it.
Yeah.
But what happens is, so like most trainers, when they teach place, they go place and they walk the dog all the way over to the bed. So then that becomes part of the command, so you're constantly walking the dog there. So once I warm them up to it, I start going, go there. So then I can send the dog from anywhere within the room, and I'm not having to always walk them.
And then do you like, in theory, we're like at home and I make the place be like, we don't have one of those beds right now, but it's just like towel or something, like define boundaries.
Yep.
After like, even if it's like 5 minutes, if I look over and she's not, is it just like the remote, or like you remind her, at that point it feels like time for the mom.
Like if she's on there, like to remind her that she's still in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so what teaches the dog to not leave the area is leaving the area, right? So like let's say I'm on an imaginary place here, right? And I step off of the place and you tap. Go like this. You're setting boundaries. If you step off that area, the collar lights up, right? So even if she goes 45 minutes of not jumping off of the place now, right? I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like of just like reaffirming like you're not supposed to move from there. It's technically allowing the dog to do it. So dogs learn easiest with don't do that, right? So if she steps off, you go don't do that. She goes okay,
Yeah.
and that's what creates that implied stay and the duration.
Okay.
When we go to downs, once we teach the down command, and it's but like the dog's got a good concept of it, then it's down. 20 minutes later, the dog tries to get up, don't do that. The dog goes back down again. 30 minutes later, tries to get back up, don't do that. The dog goes back down, okay? Because positive reinforcement is when the dog's on the area, you keep feeding them while they're on the area, right? To reinforce that that's where you want to be. But there's nothing to say, don't do that, okay? So if I were to like use food, for example, I pay at the end. So like I pay at the beginning, place, good girl, feed. You're there for 30 minutes. At the end, feed, great, right? How I do that part. But for dogs, it's the easiest thing of teaching them that concept of time is just you put her there, and you think we're gonna be here for 2 hours. And 30 minutes in, she goes, I'm done. And you go, no, you're not. She goes, okay. She goes right back to it. It's how they learn. Okay. So we'll try that. So you're gonna do the release about 2 feet away. Okay. You're gonna anchor yourself. And use that leash and remote pressure to get her to flush towards like that. Okay.
Kirby. Kirby. Place.
Yep. 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 You grab higher up on the leash. Yep. 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 Yep.
And then we
Yep.
like,
That's fine. There you go. And relax. Very good. So much different, right?
Yeah.
So
She thinks she wants to like stay and heal.
yes, right. So you're also teaching the disengagement, the leaving my side. So now we have the walk to me, we have the return to me, and now we have the send away. Is what we're teaching, right? So that's why I once you had the idea of stepping on here stops everything. I go to now let's make the brain leave you and go to this area. That's clearly a little bit harder. Right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that exact same thing. Now I like what you did. You had to move forward.
Yeah.
But it was very gradual. Okay, you didn't just go place. Okay, she's not going to get it, and then you walk you. So it's same thing. You'd say place, tapping, trying to get it with this first. If not, then a foot, and if not, then the other foot until she sends. But we're trying to refrain from moving forward. Okay. 4 more.
Kirby.
Wasn't moving and like he was just sitting there and he was like losing his mind and we were just like and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, girl.
Place.
Yep. 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 Almost. Yep. Yep. Good. I'd grab like 6 inches from where the collar is. That'll give you the most leverage for the next one, okay? Try it again. 3 more.
Okay. Girl. Kirby. Place.
Yep, yep, almost. There it is. Yep, yep, a little more. Yep, add a girl. Good job.
Good girl.
Girl.
What's her number?
41.
Okay. 2 more.
Okay.
Okay, not too bad.
Place.
There we go. That was a good one. Right? I'm going to do one more.
Good girl. Okay.
Good girl.
So pause there for a moment. So there was like a tap or two, and you can see the body just flush forward. Now she's starting to understand that tap here is meaning to go to the object. Okay, so we're essentially making the placemat like a safe zone. Before it was your left side or your right side. Then it was if I call you here, and then now it's going there. So pressure turns off once she's on the mat. Now as you can see, she's clearly not comfortable by the way she's standing, right? Because she's still processing. Normal in the beginning. What we're going to go ahead and do here is going to swap handlers. And then I'm going to have you do the same thing. We'll pick up from the same positioning about 2 feet away. And we're going to see if we can get those scents to be a bit more smoother. And then we'll start progressing into there. Okay?
Good. Heel. Oh, heel. Very good.
See a little puppy.
Very good. Place.
Yep, there you go. Good. And I would start, I think you're 4 feet away.
Okay, start closer.
Yeah. We're going to end up doing that, but we're going to give more distance.
Yeah, she's needs.
But she's still, yeah.
Okay.
And you're at 41.
Yeah.
Let's go to 38.
Sorry, I'm trying to get out of your way to
What?
No, you're
filming.
Oh, so we just like. Good girl.
Yeah. It's good.
Place.
Yep. And then use pressure. Yep.
Place.
Yep. There you go. Good girl.
Good girl.
We're going to do 3 more.
Good girl. Heel.
Yep. There we go. Good girl.
Very good. Good girl.
2 more.
Okay. Sorry. Kirby, heel.
Choke up a little bit more on that leash.
Kirby, place.
Yep. There we go. Let's go down to 30.
Very good.
1 more.
Good job. Heel. Kirby, place.
Yep. There you go.
Very good.
Good. Trace.
Very good, Kirby. Good job. Good job.
Rest for a moment there.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So she's bucking a little bit in the beginning, right? So let's go
I
ahead and
normally do the pause thing. She like, I feel like she's like jumping up on me.
right. I think it's we'll go down to 24. I
Okay.
think it's a smidgen too much for the exercise that we're doing.
Yeah.
So like earlier we taught a dog to down with remote, and the first thing I always so higher number makes dogs move,
Yeah.
right? So when we're doing things like this, I'll generally go lower, like especially with the down, and then I work my way up as needed. Because if I come in too hot, the dog's just bucking around all over the place. So I feel like that's what's going on here for her. So we're
Yeah.
just working backwards. We'll see if lowering that intensity gets us more of a bump forward and not the bump up like
Yeah.
expecting what's going to happen. Okay. What we're going to do on this one as well is we're going to start sending from different positions, and we're going to increase to the foot. Okay. So for dogs, let's say at home, you always send Kirby from one particular position or direction, you know, for a week, and then one day you decide, I'm gonna do it from over here. It's not gonna connect. Okay, dogs are very much about what's the word? Repetitions and consistency and stuff. So if it's always the same way, when you break out of that, after doing it for a week, the dog goes, wait, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Right? So by starting in the beginning of going, I might send you from this side, it might be from this side, it might be from over here, or I might move the object and it's over here. You're starting to get able to think outside the box, like, oh, place just means go to this spot, not specifically go to the spot in this way.
Yeah.
Okay? So you'll start sending from different angles, doesn't matter from where, and we're going to push you back to about 3 feet away.
Okay.
And expect that you might have to give a little bit more leash pressure because we're going to be a bit more further.
Yeah.
And I'd be like even real close to that collar,
like
so you're choking up so that it's a real immediate. That should also help us prevent the bucking up.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Release.
Kirby, okay. Okay.
Good girl.
Good girl.
Kirby.
Here.
That's good. Then you're gonna get that sit. Yeah. Got a girl. Then we're gonna choke up on that leash. There you go.
Kirby, play.
Yeah. There we go.
Very
Bad.
good.
Got a girl.
So
praise,
good.
Praise, praise.
So good. Good job.
We're gonna do 4 more just like that.
Okay. You. Good girl.
A bit closer, like a step forward. There you go. Good.
Kirby, place.
Yep. There it is. And a girl.
Very good.
Now, starting to settle.
Oh,
There you
very
go.
good. Good girl. Good girl. I know you're tired.
3 more.
Okay. Heel.
Good. Good.
Good girl. Please.
Yep. There we go. Good.
Very good. Good job. Okay.
3 more.
Kirby, place.
Yep.
Place.
There you go. Good.
Very good. So good. So good. One more.
Yep. Last one.
Kirby, heel. Heel. Very good. Place.
There you go.
Very good.
Excellent.
So good.
We're gonna pause there.
Okay.
Okay. See that gradual just progression of understanding and concept of, oh, I just need to go here.
Yeah. She's like, I can lay down. I just need to be.
Yeah, because before we needed more power to get the brain to think, how do I turn this off, and to learn this is where I go. Then it became too much power. So we went from 36, 38 down to 24, and that was a lot more smooth, right? And now on that last one, you're about 4 to 5 feet away, and you just pop forward, right?
Yeah.
So I like doing that gap because that's what makes dogs progress faster. If you do that walking towards thing, it's like forever. So like once you teach the concept, dogs learn very quickly, especially with pressure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but notice I typically go in reps of 5, and that's how I advance. So if 2 out of those 5 were good and the other 3 sucked, we would do another 5. And then if she got 4 out of 5, I go, good, that's 80%. Now we're gonna progress to the next step. And then another 5, and so on and so forth. So if you're ever working with her on something and you're wanting a means of structure, I've been using that for years. It's a nice little guideline to know when to advance to the next step.
No,
Okay?
that's actually really cool.
So once she started to get the concept and we lowered the number, she started to relax more. She wasn't just awkwardly sitting there like, I don't want to be here. She's like, oh, okay, I go here and I can chill and I can relax, right? Of course, when she's on the placemat, I don't care if she's standing, I don't care if she's sitting, I don't care if she lays down. It's just go here and relax, whatever that looks like to you, okay? So questions so far about this?
I guess, so in general, obviously as we're learning it's one thing, but say it's like I don't want her to get used to if it's, you know, practicing it with a towel in our apartment versus this, like if it's only in our apartment and that's the only time we're doing it, I guess, is it just like, does it need to be a defined space where she can like see, or is it just like, how do we?
It's like it's the transferability to other places,
yeah.
right?
And how do we like
defining boundaries?
But how do we
define?
But how do we do that? Like,
places.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if there's no like set like.
Yes. So you do need a
Spot.
clear picture, right? It can be a bathroom mat, it can be a yoga mat, it can be a towel, it can be a blanket, it can be an area rug, it can be an ottoman, it can be a couch, right? It's anything where it's kind of like I'm stepping on, and this is there's a perimeter, right? So it doesn't have to be anything like this. You know, it could be a dog bed or what have you. It could be a pillow. So we do need to have some kind of perimeter. I wouldn't go like here in the dirt and say place, and then expect them to know what a perimeter is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, transferability, very simple. Once we have concept, we have concept. Okay? She's now learning remote, and I go to this thing, and it turns off, right? So let's say you go to a towel, you set it down, she's not going to go place right off the bat.
Yeah.
You would do a few cents with the leash on. And then she goes, oh, this is just like the placemat at Alden Park and Jessie.
Yep.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
And then maybe you go to your friend's house, you're like, oh crap, I forgot to bring the towel. Do you have one I could borrow? Yeah, sure, here. Pop it down. You do a couple of reps, just new thing.
Yeah.
Boom, there you go. So then the concept of go to place and don't move from it is the easy part. It's just the teaching her that this is also a place, okay? I had a client that had a really big area rug, and they're like, can I use that as place? I said, yes, but it's just a really big place. So the dog has the ability of walking around in it, right? And if they had another dog, I said, technically, your dog and the other dog could play within that boundary of place. It's like a yard without a fence. It's a reverse yard. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it could be whatever you'd like it to be. It doesn't have to be in the same spot, right? So like, let's say in the living room, and you've done it a bunch of times, and you arrange the living room, and then you move it to another spot, you would just maybe have to condition her, now it's here.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, okay, it moved. I get some clients that always move their place, so the dog never gets stuck on places here in this room. It's places, look for this object.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, I was gonna say, is it easier for me to start out like with one thing and keep it in a similar spot, or should I like? Because I guess I think about it. Well, or is it going to be easier and she'll pick it up and do it better in different places if I like go on our deck? It's one thing. Do something else. It's like and constantly have it be a different place.
Depends.
Like what's okay? So
It's really on the owner.
yeah.
Like for me, I'm all about pressing dogs
Yeah.
real fast, right? So me personally, I'd be a different spot all the time.
Yeah.
And then she just ends up like, so what would happen is, let's say you use the same object every time within the home. Place would be go look for that object and go there.
Into a box.
You know, so
Yeah,
that would be.
she already like does
Her box.
this with her crate.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
she's crate
In
training that way.
Farrah's house. She
And we-
tries
and we
to go
have-
downstairs.
I know. She has.
Yeah.
This is a godsend in many ways, but like she's gotten very comfortable. She's very. It's almost like her crate is like her little happy
it's a
space,
little den,
her little
sure.
her little safe space. So
Yeah.
like she does this when we say go.
Go to your box.
We say go to your box, but
Sure.
but like
I pictured like a cardboard box for a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
but yeah,
My
she-
parents
no
always
matter-
said it
no
with our
matter
dogs
where-
around was go to your box, and for some reason I thought it was so funny, and then somehow it became.
But she does this like no matter
Yeah.
where we are, like the look for the object
Yes.
concept. She is familiar with and knows how to do,
Yes.
no matter like where we are.
Yes.
She will go find it, even at my parents' house where we also have a crate for her. She will go wait by the stairs, right, wait by the door, or just go down and go right to her crate down there. Like she looks for the object. So
Yes.
I think it'll be I think it's important. I guess what I'm saying is I think it's important for us to mix up objects then.
Yeah,
Just
that's
so
two
for the
different things.
place, because I feel like he's already like wired to look for a certain object, and if that object's not there, then she may not know what to do. So I feel like we need to train her differently.
Yeah, and then moving around, it just challenges the brain a bit more.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my preference. Other people would just prefer to just have it in the same spot and always do the same spot, and then I just tell them that's perfectly fine. Then when you decide to move it, just you'll have to let the dog know, hey, it's over here now.
Yeah,
You know,
show them that it's.
like kind of like with cats. I think if they're litter trained, if you move the litter, you have to like take them and pop them in there, so the cat's like, oh, okay, litter is now in this room, not in the bathroom like it was before. So very similar. So right off the bat, once we teach the concept of place, we can start narration. So there's two aspects to these commands. There's the sending aspect, and we want that to be easy. So in the beginning, not so easy, now getting easier. Then the next aspect is, okay, go there and don't move for the next X amount of time, okay? So at our facility, if we get a board and train, one of the first things we teach is place, so we can start doing duration work right off the bat. Duration is so easy for people to do, but it's like, I think it's so easy to do that people just put it on the back burner. They're like, I'll do this whenever, you know, it's no problem. But then they end up needing it. They're like, oh, then they're trying to rush into it. So I always encourage people, please do duration work, because then when you need it, you've already done the homework. You're not trying to last minute, you know, high school project hit type of thing. It also helps with dogs like her. Like you can see how she's unsettled.
Yeah.
She's anxious because she's learning a new thing. She's under stress. And once we made a few adjustments, she started to relax a bit more, and she started to lay down and stuff, which is good, right? So like anxious type energies tend to want to move a lot. Okay. So what I've learned throughout my years is typically we're almost always going opposite to the dog. So if a dog's response to stress is I want to move, then I make them sit stationary. If a dog's response is shut down, don't move, then I make them move. Okay. So if I get a dog that's in the house that's just constantly like neurotic and stuff, like I'll tell the owner, do this. The dog has no off switch.
Yeah.
And this helps the dog develop that off switch. Okay. At our facility, we do cheat the system. So like once we teach the send, we have columns and we have a placemat by each column and we tether. We have a leash tether and we clip them. So we place them and we walk away and the dog goes, we're done. And
They can't go.
They can't go.
Yeah.
And we use the remote to make them figure out how to go back on there. And right off the bat, we're doing 2 to 3 hours of the duration. So they'll do like the training time, then they'll do duration work, then they'll do daycare time and play, then they'll do more training time into duration, into resting in the kennel. So we're really using it a lot. So one way to practice that is like in the home, if you have like a really heavy table, or if like there's those old school radiators, right? Like right now they're not on. I can put a little tether, put a little bed there, place her, clip her, and it'd be moving all over the place. And every time she like makes a mistake, I can remote her and make her figure out how to go on there because she's limited in terms of range of motion. Okay. If she looks completely confused, I just walk over, a little bit of leash pressure as I power. She goes back on there, then I go back, and eventually she will figure it out.
So it's the other way, it's just like every time she moves off. Like, so here's my question. So if I'm not tethering her and I'm just watching TV or I'm working and I'm like, okay, we're gonna practice duration because I'm sitting here and I can like do it. I see her move off. Is it remoting her? And then like she's probably gonna meet and just like come to me in general.
Yep, probably.
And then just probably just grab her and take rope, like keep beeping her as I'm grabbing her and.
Yes. So what happens is she's got her leash on. So in the beginning, when we're starting to build, because you're building towards off leash, right?
Yeah.
But you need the leash as that tool because she's got to figure out what do I do with this pulses. So if I'm on the area, right, and maybe she gets completely off the area, and you start pulsing, okay? Now she's like, what do I do? Because she's not tethered, so she get really far.
Yeah.
You keep pulsing. You walk over. You grab the leash. As you're pulsing, and what you'll see is you walk to the object. She'll probably go and shoot there.
Yeah.
Then I stop. I stop walking her because you're going, you got it. But if you walk her all the way, that's going to become part of the correction as well, kind of like part of the lead. So when she shoots forward, she's going, oh, that's what I was supposed to do. So then the next time, she sneaks off, you'll start pulsing her. She'll come back to self-correct, and you don't even need to touch the leash, okay? And then you also want to watch what's going on the mind.
Yeah.
So like my Pitty, when she was a puppy, she's a little smart ass. I'd place her, and I'd go and make a sandwich in the kitchen. I'd come back, and she'd be like this. Okay, one toe on the bed,
like,
and then everything else out, right? So if you see, like you would see her just go, like these little things, right? You would correct right there.
Okay.
So if you tap, you should see just the retraction and back onto the area. Okay, I do, and if you want to be very mindful of her mindset, because let's say she's got a smaller area, she falls asleep or she's just chilling, and her paw is off of the area. Mentally, she's not intending to do that.
Right.
She's just too big.
Don't just like wake her up.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I let it go. But if it looks like conniving, right, if it looks like I'm being sneaky, you would absolutely promote that because it's keeping my steps. Okay. When you do duration, I do suggest in the beginning, if you don't have a tether, is to start next close to you. Right. So like let's say you're gonna watch a movie, move the bed, pop it down next to the couch, place her, and then step on the leash. So if she tries to sneak off, you either hear her or you feel the leash tug. You can start remoting. She's somewhat tethered because you're stepping on the leash, or you can even put the handle underneath the couch leg and see if she'll figure it out. If she doesn't, you just apply a little leash pressure. She goes back. I go back to watching TV. but we do not repeat the command.
Never
Okay?
say it.
Yes. So for dogs, if you say place, she breaks it, and you go, no, Kirby, place, you've simply reset the command. You've not taught her don't get off in the first place. So if you say place, she gets up and you start remoting and she self-corrects, no warning, she just thinks, oh, places go there and don't step off, otherwise the collar goes off automatically.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's a small little detail, and a lot of clients struggle with it. Thinking about it, a lot of clients struggle. They'll say, Jesse, I down my dog, and I say down 20 times, but they keep getting up. And I'm like, yeah, you're saying down 20 times. I'm like, it's down, don't move. And if you move, I'm going to correct you until you go back into position,
Yeah.
and then we're good again. And then that's how the dog learns to stay stationary for long periods of time. There's no such thing as too long, because she's not doing anything redundant. Right? The sentence that we were doing earlier, that's redundant. So I keep that real short, 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 5 minute sessions, a couple of times a day. But when it comes to the send, place, boom, now don't move for the next 45 minutes. So she's only being sent back when she breaks position. Okay? Other questions?
Is it helpful to like give her a toy or something?
You can. You know, like the place command is lenient. So
Yeah.
you can give her a bone to chew on, an antler or whatever. But let's say she drops that bone and like it rolls away, right? My pity used to cry. Like she would like, it would roll off the bed and she's like, right? And I'm like, all right, because you can't get off of the bed, right?
Yeah.
But then she'd be mindful because then she started doing it on purpose, right? So my pit was a brat when she was a puppy. But otherwise, that's technically correct. She's supposed to hang back and go, hey, you gave me something and I lost it, but I can't get off of here. Can I get that back? And you simply bring it back. But yeah, you can give her things to like reinforce it, antler, Himalayan dog chew, woolly stick, whatever it is. But she just cannot take it off of the object. Okay.
Okay.
Other questions?
This is a good one. I mean, you said you go into reverse of the dog. This is definitely, in reverse of what she wants to do. So, and I think something that we had written off a long time ago, but maybe this will allow us to do it, is, taking her to, like brewing or something, like where it's like, hey, we need you to just chill for a couple hours in this spot. It can be lenient, again, like stand, sit, lay down, whatever, I don't care, but like, need to chill here.
Correct.
Puppet energy is at least also come down to it.
Yeah, she has done that. I still obviously, myself and stuff, we take her in a situation like that publicly.
Sure.
We're going to want to have exercise. We're going to want to have, we're not going to bring her mentally fresh and physically, like all amped up. So we obviously would do things to make it, hopefully be more relaxed or fatigued or just tired, more willing to nap or stay in a place for a period of time. But this would be a great one for us if we could maybe.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely, in my opinion, doable. Okay, you guys make great progress. Okay, so and there'll be another aspect to that which we'll touch upon in another lesson, just like kind of pressing the boundaries, breaking out the comfort zone. Because most people, when I talk to them, their expectations are like all the way down here, and I'm like, we're doing remote, man. We can go up here. Like that's always the goal. And people fall somewhere in the middle. Some get all the way there, others just quite there, others like right in the middle, But remote gives so much more freedom and control. Is if we're gonna go to a brewery and we're gonna be there for a couple of hours, right? Is you in the home, you want to go past that.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're gonna be an hour and a half at the brewery, then I practice 2.5 hours in the home. How do you say? As one session.
Yes.
And not like 30 minutes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like she's staying there for an hour.
Correct. Because you're making it harder in the home to stay put. Because when you go to the brewery, you have to account for there might be other dogs, there might be other people, there's going to be people walking around, the sounds, things dropping, That's, it's going to be harder environment-wise. Time-wise, easier. It's just an hour and a half, right? So that's how you can start building to that within the home. And there's no such thing as too much with this stuff. Like there's some trainers that teach, one thing with the way they teach their obedience program is the dog is almost always in some kind of stationary position if they're not free in the backyard, if they're not being walked, or if they're not given some kind of loose time. It's very strict, right? I've learned through my approach, as long as people use the correct number to discipline things, they don't really have to do that, right? But I will encourage it because it doesn't hurt, okay? So, but yeah, that's something you want to do, absolutely. I think it's a great goal. Definitely want to use this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, people go, I do it once a week, and I go, if you're doing it once a week, going to that patio, in my opinion, is going to be much harder than rushing, potentially throwing yourself in there.
Yeah.
And we build this up. So at the beginning, it's next to you. Okay, something close so that you're not constantly having to walk her back to the area, right? And you gradually make it further and further away. Until it's like, okay, she's over at the other side of the room, she's in place, and you're over here having dinner, and you're watching TV, and then a couple hours goes by, and she's not budging from it. Okay, so I make it easy in the beginning, and then gradually make that harder. Other questions?
Well, this is like, it's not even place. It's actually more just me thinking like, okay, so I think place is also good for like, this goes back to like, and I know we've been really busy, so we haven't scheduled our like the Zooms yet. Yeah, but it's partly being like, okay, so like in theory, it's great if I know there's someone she's like not getting puppy with. Yeah, I'm gonna be like place. Like, is she just gonna sit there and like growl from her place, like, or is?
Yeah, I know it's good.
I know where you're
Yeah, you know where I'm going with that.
So there's two aspects here.
Yeah.
Okay, now the door with the bell and everything and the trigger and knocking. Remember, she's going into territorial mode.
Yep.
Okay. Most trainers will tell you if you send your dog to place, your dog's in place, they can't bite your guest or whatever because they can't leave the place, right?
Yeah, but like.
There's a couple problems there. One problem is if the dog really wants to bite the person, they will bite the person. They're going to say, screw your place, I'm biting the person. That's one. The second one is they'll be on place and like you said, the whole time.
Yep.
Because nothing's acknowledged the territorial behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're leaving the elephant in the room.
Correct. So once, and don't worry about time, once you're ready, we schedule that Zoom, and I can, and if you can, please send me an email to say, Jesse, send me the video, the home video, and I'm gonna send, it's when I was doing in-home, and it's an exercise that I do about people coming into the home. So there's two aspects of it. One is communicating with Kirby, hey, thanks for letting us know that someone's here, but we got this, you need to settle down and relax. That's what's going to eliminate the territorial behavior and the growling, okay? Now, if you want secondary control, then we go into place, right? But we addressed her mentally before we addressed her physically.
Yes.
Most trainers just address physically. Go over there and go.
Yeah.
But what happens if the dog is right? So you would work in that order. In my personal preference, you actually don't even need to do the second part of it if you dial down the territorial behavior, because that's what's fueling everything. Once you shut that down, there's nothing to fuel growling or to fuel, any kind of aggressive responses.
Yeah.
Because she's not in that emotional state anymore. Okay. So it's like if you're angry, you behave angrily. But if you're not angry, unless you're an actor, you're not going to be doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for dogs. Once you shut that mindset off, that's why most, like, let's say with positive reinforcement, if the dog's being aggressive, if they can successfully redirect the dog to something, the dog completely forgets about what's going on up here, kind of.
Yeah.
Right? But it actually doesn't help the dog because they've just taken their energy and moved it over here.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's like a cartoon or something where like they see a butterfly and they're a butterfly, and the mindset just changes. That's how dogs operate. Okay, so you'd have a blend, but technically, yes, you would be correct. Okay, now one way you could again cheat the system is, let's say you didn't set up the Zoom. You're like, holy crap, we got the moment coming over, and we don't have time to set up the Zoom. What can we do that's still pushing behavior, but not like making us too anxious about it? Right? I find something tether with you.
Yeah.
I tether her. Put the placemat, place her, you open the door, maybe she's throwing a shit fit. She's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I can correct her and promote her to settle her back down and say, don't do that crap, even if you are on place. I disagree with you. But she's restricted. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
But,
Makes sense.
yeah, so that's kind of like, if that's all I got, I'll use it.
But yeah,
But
there's
there-
more things you want to address because
Better
it's
ways
solve
to
the
address
problem.
it.
Correct, yeah. So, other questions?
No, that's awesome. I know we obviously did the video.
It's an easy exercise. Once you see it and like you understand the concept, you're like, oh, like this makes sense. We're talking dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
And part of the territorial thing too, because I think about the last time I took her, over a year ago, but when we took her to a brewery and we had our own space, like we were outside anyway, but I don't have a table, and she didn't get anywhere because we were holding the leash. It was fine. She had been napping and then like very relaxed, and then one random woman in a flowy skirt
Oh, I
walked
remember
by.
talking about that.
Yeah, and she like went and lunged for her, and she didn't get anywhere. But it's like in theory, I'm like, well, even if she's in place, she's relaxed, like, are we still gonna have those moments where I have to go for the remote and be like,
Right. So what I always teach is awareness. Okay. I don't want you to be paranoid. I want you to be aware.
yep,
So like during training, you may see me like do this, right? Where I'll start looking around, but I'm still talking because I'll hear something. Like I'll hear dog tags. So I'm like, where are those dog tags? It's a loose dog. It's a dog coming towards us, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not paranoid, but I become super aware of like dogs. Like I don't know if you've maybe with her before or other
well,
dogs.
now I have. I'm like always constantly thinking.
Sure. And it's like, I'm not just doing this for no reason.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because something's triggering. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, let's say we're at a brewery and we have Kirby in a down. She's at my feet. I see someone approaching, right? I hear steps or whatever. My foot just goes right on that leash. And I go to check, and then I go to look at Kirby. I see her nice and relaxed, no shift. The person goes by. I go back to the back. My brush, whatever, right? If I start, so I'm always dog. So like when I used to have dogs boarding out of my home, I used to have both human and dog rescue dogs, and nobody liked each other, but nobody went after each other because they knew the rules. But whenever I would see them walking by each other, I would just kind of look to the corner of my eye, have my hand in the remote. There'd be the passing, a little bit of tension, but they would resolve it and walk by. Good. Go back to doing my work again. You know, I just got used to that awareness, and it's what tends to work against people is they get complacent. You know, they're like, we've made so much progress, right? I'm like, yes, your dog still is an anxious nervous dog, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you trust not just in her behavior, but you trust in your skill set. If we do have a moment, we're gonna shut it down like that, okay? And we're gonna catch things ideally preemptively, where I would, see a context potentially happening. I take those precautions just in case. So it's like you're confident, but at the same time, you're not letting your ego get ahead of you and go like, oh yeah, we've done all this training. You should be able to just like not do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're just always a step ahead because life will throw you some shit sometimes.
For sure. And I'm definitely.
That's right.
Hopefully I'm getting better, but hopefully I don't want to be complacent.
Yeah, no, you guys look a lot more relaxed than when I first met you guys. Yeah, and even her with me and stuff. And we can press touch sensitivity as well. I just forgot my sleeve. I did it with another dog.
Oh, cool.
This first couple classes, the dog was looking at me, like, same anxiety-based type of behavior. And then I think on the third class, I went to touch the dog and everything, and I was like, oh my god, what's that happen?
I know.
And I was like, no. And I'm like, you know why this is? And she was like, no, like, because discipline, calming the dog down, settling the nerves, and then I did it very dog, dog friendly.
Yeah.
But then I was like, obviously not realistic, but to give you an idea, because she thought nobody could just touch the dog, period.
Oh, okay.
And I said, no, I did it here to benefit you, feel better as the owner. But I was like, but the next time we do this, it's not going to be dog friendly, it's going to be what a normal person would do and see what people do. You know what I'm saying?
She always smells the dog when she's in the I'm convinced.
Oh.
Any person who has
for
an
sure.
animal, she actually doesn't care about.
You're
Or
not
she's
the-
just like,
Yeah, you're not the first person. That's noticed kind of that common ground of like when they meet people that have dogs, like they don't care, but if they don't have a dog, they tend to be more nervous. Or like, yeah, that's not uncommon. Okay. Other questions? So for your homework this week, if you each did this kind of exercise, 2 to 3 minutes a day, that's good. Once you feel like, hey, she's got it, she's sending to the placemat, no problem, then I just go to application. Okay. There's no such thing as too much, right? And if you notice in the beginning like that, she just barely sat down, right? At my facility, we had a black Russian Terrier, about 100-pound dog. Had no discipline, completely. He was unneutered. He got him like a year and a half.
wow.
Did whatever he wanted. So it was like a little bucking bronco, not little, a big bucking bronco the first time we had him.
Of course.
And yeah, he's huge. And when we first placed him, it took like 3 days before he went from standing for literally hours to sitting to finally laying down. And when he laid down, I remember everybody was there and everybody was like, holy shit. Jaeger finally laid down.
Wow.
Because he was so anxious. He had never been told what to do and made to do something and hold the standards.
Yeah.
That his anxiety was up.
Oh, for sure.
Because he wasn't used to it. And it took days of literally hours of duration work before his brain, because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
You can only stay in that state for so long before it's like, fine, I gotta just give in. And finally, the body registered and goes, oh, and was able to relax and just chill. So.
Well, now I have one more question. It goes back to I'm not being complacent, but yesterday afternoon, and I don't know, maybe it's just tired and she wasn't stressed, but we were at his parents' house with a bunch of other people being around now. We were sitting like on their deck, and like, you know, I had like she was on a long line that was not even really being held by anyone, but she did not like leave our little like
Couple.
and she was like laying down, doing whatever. Like, and it's so to me, I was like, is something wrong with her? Because she's not this like. She wasn't distracted. We were outside. There was like chipmunks and squirrels like all over there. Is that like part of her just getting used to structure and being like, maybe I shouldn't stray like too far?
Because when we start to put boundaries and things, and there's rules, like you can't just do every little thing you want.
Yeah.
Then the dogs are more reserved.
Yeah. That's what I felt like. She was just more reserved, and everyone's like, yeah, she must be just tired. And I was like, no, she's not tired. She hasn't done enough all day to make her tired.
No, that's why humans have laws,
Yeah.
right? And kids. So like for kids, before that bell rings, they're doing whatever they want. Passing notes, talking to each other. It's loud, ruckus, moving things around. The bell rings. It means structure. If the kids respect the teacher, they'll go back into the places. If there's no respect for the teacher, bell ringing doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
They'll keep with that non-structure. Same thing for her. So every time you walk her in heel, you're practicing this structure. Now you're putting rules to how far she can go because we're doing the recall. Now we have this thing of duration where it's like, okay, don't. So that's why in the beginning, what looks like a bigger problem is just a bunch of little things that went unaddressed.
Yeah.
That lead to a bigger problem. Does that make sense? So most trainers or people think we're targeting this bigger thing here, right? Let's go find dogs and let them be reactive and slam them for it. And they go, no, let's go work around it. Ideally, it's not that we don't do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's necessary. But that's why I go, we see what heel fixes. Because you do it every day. It's a very strict focus command. It's exhausting for a dog to like walk, like she's really tight on your hip.
Yeah.
She's got a beautiful heel, okay? So when you're walking,
I have bruises
Yeah,
from running. No, like this
Because
thing
she's-
hits me and she's right here, and I'm like,
you can flip it too so that you don't get that.
well, I realized we ran the ring one time and I didn't get off. And so I've been like trying to feel that.
Oh, the little.
There's like irritation.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah.
It heals up for girls' back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we start with heel almost always, and then we see what will that fix. And as long as I see some kind of progress, I go, cool. We're just gonna make little tweaks. We're gonna keep going, and then we get that.
Yeah.
Okay. So discipline goes a long way.
Cool.
Okay. So good job for doing the homework. I just give the instructions. You guys have to follow through. If you did not follow through, then you be back at square one.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have your homework for the week.
Yep.
Start employing this. Only 2 sessions, one apiece, 2 to 3 minutes to 5 minutes of sends. Gradually make it further. If you feel, use that 5 repetition structure. She's not getting it. Make it easier again. She's not ready for that next step. Okay. And do what's going to be applicable to you. If you're like, no, we would like to be able to send her from anywhere within the home, then you have to practice at that point.
Yeah.
Right. If it's just like, no, we just want to send her. She goes. We just kind of she does it. Then you only practice that. Okay. Otherwise, we'll see you in a week.
Yep.
Okay. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and I'll get you that video to you. And then, whenever you're ready for that Zoom, you can schedule it, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay, great. Thanks so
Awesome.
much, guys.
You're welcome.